How can we overcome challenges in life? I said it. It's about continuous problem solving. But that may not be, continuous problem solving, yes, but you don't want to use the brain to solve the problem. I think you use the brain as much as possible as you feel like, but then there's a point that you cannot go anywhere when it's a big problem. So that's the big challenge to overcome. And therefore, the skills that I've been talking about is to develop what we call the joriki, steady power. Pointing that you resolve, accept everything as it is, get into the state of absolute being, which is no self, no ego, because it's not going to work. That's why you got stuck. So that's the state of samadhi too. So at the deep samadhi, when you accept everything and everything as it is what it is what I have put up there on the large screen computer, just to remind myself. And then underneath is the same continuation in power, continuation to remind us to accept everything as it is the power to connect to the source of our being, original being, where the law of nature has brought us on this earth beyond our knowledge. That's the magic of this existence is. Whether you believe it or not, I don't know, but I cannot dispute that idea. It's amazing, the fact that I'm alive. That's all the reason why I shouldn't, because everything is supposed to disintegrate or go to chaos. That's called the laws of entropy. It's only one direction, except the human being or the living being is going against the disintegration to integrate, synthesize atoms, electrons, this and that in some configuration to put into the protein or amino acid, I don't know, whatever, and then DNA is created, and over time the evolution happened and we are here. How can you dispute that's not miracle? But I think it's not the conceptual understanding, but the feeling of that sense. And when you feel the vibration of the cells in your body, and you can do this just touching your heart and breathe in and breathe out. Hear the heartbeat, you breathe, and you eat this and that, and somehow you wake up tomorrow morning awake. I mean, you may be dead eventually, but I don't mean to be negative about it. Even if you don't do anything, you wake up. So the mind has only a certain portion of life that is what the mind can play with. And the huge amount underneath this shallow, whatever the layers that was developed, the gray zone, I don't know what's the name of it, is over time that has been developed, that we use the language and the words and the logic and the right and wrong and all that type of things start to happen when we ate Adam and Eve ate the fruit of knowledge. So absolute state being is right before that, meaning no mind and no self. And then there was a time our ancestors were there before the words and logic. They behave like animals living in a cave, doing this and that. And when someone forgot to keep the fire going, they get cold and they just get upset and, running around. What do you do? What do you do? This happened. I'm pretty sure that happened. I imagine that if I were there and I was responsible to keep the fire going, and I fall asleep, and the next, eventually I figure it out, and then when I see the fire gone, what do I do? And they look at you, and how do you respond? It's not a laughing matter. I mean, it's serious. And you can imagine all that stuff, and that, I should be talking more about this because we need to be humble, not just take things for granted, and to realize how rare this existence is as human. I feel it. Unbelievable. And all the ancestors having sex here and there, and then popped up with me and you, and happened to be here, on YouTube. And you might not want to think about it because you have things to do. You have this relationship and work and some other things. But maybe it's good to get into a state to realize some fundamental way that we happen to be here to live life. So awakening is related to that, awareness of all the stuff happening. And then I've been talking about saying like a problem solving, because nature has a way of solving a problem to be alive and get things moving, even if we don't think. So that's the relationship. But one thing I didn't mention in this way that I want to talk about, that was the reason why I thought I would talk today, is because I thought, I haven't touched on the compassion. And the reason why I thought about it is that I usually check the, view count and the subscriber for the each of those things that I list. And this last one, I think so, it was the last one, one subscriber didn't like what I said about how to overcome challenge in life. And I don't remember who, because it's just a -1. And if there are people coming in, I can say +3 or 2 or, all that stuff. And I saw that -1. I thought, maybe I said something not quite right. And I thought the possibility is that this person took it in such a manner that this person, he or she, doesn't like solving problem with using the brain. But that's not the point of this line when I say how to overcome challenges in life and move on, is, of course, we can use the brain, but there's a limit of using the brain. That's why we get stuck and have challenges. If not, maybe no challenges. So what do? Is to go back to the samadhi, which is not you solving the problem, actually. Let the way of nature to bring out the solution, and you realize, there's a solution for this. And that's awakening or mini awakening. And that's what happened. And I have experience of many of that. So I continuously rely on that process to live, because it's handy, because in essence, you don't have to do it. You just use your brain a little bit and they get confused and, this is enough, and then I go swimming or whatever. It's the same thing when you're swimming. Nothing, no brain, no thinking, no ego. I was out, swimming. It's raining now, but it wasn't at the time, and it was cloudy. But I thought, and that was wonderful. It was cold, nobody's around, and I'm swimming. Give the stimulation to the body, which they like. I thought, I'm old, so I may get a heart attack. Well, eventually it can happen, but if I don't do it, it's not, you don't have to protect yourself too much. You have to live like the nature's monkeys and so forth, in a way, that we came from there. We have those programming going on. That's important part of it. I mentioned about the tree of life and the channeling of the energy and all that. There's a system developed and we can connect, but if you just sealed it in the office and this and that, and everything delivered from this and that, and you just do this and do this or whatever, and you're complaining about what's wrong with this world or about your work and relationship, but get to the core state of being and feel humble about how lucky we are, instead of complaining, just realizing, you're right, I know, but it's not I know. The body is telling me that's the right thing to do. When I go swimming, my mind says, well, maybe, but once you have sense of why, and you want to give the body some stimulation instead of relying on the pills or whatever they say on the internet, you have to do this, you have to do that. But it's about self-managing, and not you managing, but also your heart and the way of nature living in yourself to brought us here to be helping, because that's their job. And you need to give them a stimulation, and that's why you move and exercise. And I'm a lazy guy, so I noticed that some people say you're supposed to walk, 2 miles or some such thing. And I thought, in my case, I'll be bored. Well, if you do it right, but I haven't gotten to the level, so I come up with the idea of usually combining 2 or 3 things. Like when I go diving, I do the exercise, I enjoy it, and have the different stimulation in the water and looking through the glass or the mask, and you catch fish or pick up abalone or mussel, or sometimes you feel lucky, crayfish, they call it crayfish for lobster. So I combine those things. That's part of the wisdom in my case, and so that I'm not a robot to just do this and do this and do this and drink this and take this pill and then kind of a life. Be creative. So problem solving is that kind of a problem solving, instead of using the brain like with the equation and all that, but rather more intuitive sense to be connected to the conceptual view of the world and all of that, that there's something alive in us that is all over the place, and if we lose the connection, that's no good. Now, I spent lots of time, and I wanted to say something else, but maybe I'll use more videos to talk about it. So that's basic approach that I share, and I've been wanting to talk about the Myōkōnin all the time, but I'm not able to do that. But I need to do it, because there are 2 ways to look at it, as far as I can tell. One is like a Zen and meditation. It's a little bit the intellectual end of it. Why? I just can't explain, but let's leave it like that. But the people who like to use the brain, intellect, and looking up book reading and all that, they tend to be, little stupid in a direction of the going into Zen. Okay, this is kind of interesting. It's difficult. That's why I started to get into Zen, because I thought at old age, maybe this is the kind of thing that I should enjoy myself just playing. And it's so difficult. But that was a challenge, and I did that. But then I discovered this Myōkōnin from Shin Buddhism, and this is so simple. And that's what I want to talk about. And I want to say a few words before time runs out, because I don't think even nobody watched for a long time. So let me just say it and then continue next time. About the Myōkōnin, and they say Amida Buddha, meaning I let go myself, take my ego away. All right? Not the, just the ego part of it. And let the Amida Buddha to come in to help live my life, because of Amida Buddha's confession. And those people, Myōkōnin, they are not the higher rank of the society, basic people. Just like I wrote a book about new shop floor management. The shop floor is where the action is, and there are those people ground level doing the things and working. And they are very usually simpler and more, how can I say this? I can relate to. The guy at the top management level, you have to think farther than what they're thinking, and it's kind of like playing the game. But whenever I had people helping my residents doing this, mowing the lawn and so forth, and there was an occasion, there's a pool that I had, and then the guy came, Steve is his name. Every time he come, I come out of the office and spend time. Every time those gardeners come, I talk with them, and I can relate much, much more with them than the people in the higher ranking of the society, if you call that. But the point is that those people, I hate to say those, I'm one of them, but I feel people who do not want to be too intellectually processing like a legal stuff and stuff, which I do now, but I don't like it because it gives me a headache. They are against the intellect heavy society. And they have this inclination more toward the feeling versus the intellect. And I can relate to that for whatever reason. I can think back about it, but it doesn't matter for now because I can relate, because I can talk with them, talk from the heart, and we can laugh and enjoy the time and forget the time, but just, enjoy. And those are the people, I believe. That's my hypothesis, but it seems like the case that they tend to not rely on the intellect. Therefore, Amida Buddha's compassion, it could be the Jesus Christ's compassion, or any other God, if you like, to provide the compassion. But Amida's case is just totally crazy wonderful. The point of Amida's vow is that I want to help especially those who are sinners, fall out of the society. Sinners, doing something wrong or whatever, but they feel guilt feeling, they have guilt feeling, as well as possibly not wanting to argue with logic. So they have certain type of the people who seem to be more inclined to Shin Buddhism. It's the teaching from Shinran. The origin is Buddha, but it's kind of went into some different passage, more intellect or more emotion and compassion. So Amida's compassion. And boy, that's amazing. Yeah, they wouldn't be able to do this legal stuff because it's too complex. So they just shy away. And I know one Myōkōnin, my friend, what's his name? Michio-san. I can't find him now, but I know he's in Hiroshima. And he told me that the story was that he was working, but he had the difficulty of processing something because the work was too heavy. And he noticed when he was in the bus, he was just talking himself. And that was the point that he felt things are not working well. Eventually he figured out he's in this Myōkōnin category of people. He's in the modern day, current state. So back to basically the point of this is that there's intellect orientation who may like the Zen, and meditation may go either way, but it can be. But anyway, the other approach of connecting to the way of nature, because Amida Buddha is basically representing the way of nature. If you study, or even if you don't study, maybe you get it more immediately. So as much as Shila Samadhi Panya, or the getting into the state of Samadhi, would reach out to the source of who we are and bring out possibly the wisdom and compassion, Shin Buddhism approach is compassion comes first, and therefore your ego or yourself is gone, replaced by Amida's compassion. So their behavior is nothing but full of compassion. You won't believe it. I want to find out how to explain it. I'm not going to do it. But this is just one of those introduction kind of thing that I thought I want to share. And maybe in the next video following this, maybe if I'm successful, I may be able to communicate this idea. But just for now, it's similar. Entry point may be different, but core is the way of nature, law of nature, what brought us to this earth. And there's a problem solving by the brain end of it, but problem solving by the compassion end of it. Person may go both of them, or one of them, or the other one. In my case, I went this way, intellect and Zen and so forth. And then I went to also, that's why I say, touch your heart when you meditate and connect to your heart. From here, it's silence. It's just a connection waiting to happen. So, let's be. Good night. It's raining outside. May all beings be happy.